Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.
Do you know of housing estates sitting empty, abandoned, or at 80% completion stage for a while across Nigeria? Have you noticed unoccupied homes in your area? The Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, is compiling a nationwide report on the number of unoccupied houses, and we need your help. Share details with us via WhatsApp on 0916 500 0000 or email at hdan.org@gmail.com. HDAN is the Nigeria Pioneer NGO on housing development and non-profit research organization with 5,000 plus housing and construction professionals committed to tackling Nigeria's housing crisis. Your input can help shape better policies and solutions. Join us in making housing accessible and well utilized. Send your information today.
A very good morning to you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to The Real Conversation, the platform where we engage experts and thought leaders to discuss critical issues impacting Nigeria's economy, housing, and mortgage finance. I am Flora Oni, the housing diva, and today we're celebrating a significant milestone in Nigeria's mortgage sector. The 10th anniversary of the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company, NMRC. In the past decade, NMRC has been at the forefront of transforming mortgage refinancing, creating opportunities for home ownership, and stabilizing Nigeria's housing finance market. But how did it all start? What has been achieved so far, and what challenges lie ahead? Joining us today to explore this journey and what the future holds are distinguished leaders and industry experts. Mr. Abimbola Olayinka, the former president, Mortgage Banking Association of Nigeria. Mr. Femi Johnson, the managing director, Home-Based Mortgage Bank Limited. Mr. Kayode Omotosho, a former executive secretary, Mortgage Banking Association of Nigeria. Keisha Rust, the Executive Director, Center for Affordable Housing Finance in Africa. Mr. Adedeji Adesemoye, former head, Nigerian Housing Finance Program at the Central Bank of Nigeria, and now the CEO of Plural Crown Limited. We also have Mr. Jackson Emande, a housing finance specialist. This promises to be an enlightening conversation on how NMRC has shaped Nigeria's mortgage sector and the way forward for mortgage refinancing in Nigeria. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll be right back after this short break.
Do you know of housing estates sitting empty, abandoned, or at 80% completion stage for a while across Nigeria? Have you noticed unoccupied homes in your area? The Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, is compiling a nationwide report on the number of unoccupied houses, and we need your help. Share details with us via WhatsApp on 0916 500 0000 or email at hdan.org@gmail.com. HDAN is the Nigeria Pioneer NGO on housing development and non-profit research organization with 5,000 plus housing and construction professionals committed to tackling Nigeria's housing crisis. Your input can help shape better policies and solutions. Join us in making housing accessible and well utilized. Send your information today.
Welcome back. I also want to acknowledge at this point the presence of the Managing Director of NMRC, Mr. Kende Oguntumu. Mr. Kende, we're happy to have you here with us today, 10 years anniversary of NMRC. We need a goodwill message from you, Mr. Kende.
Good morning, madam, and good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Let me start by saying a very big thank you to the organizers, first of all, for putting this together. We're grateful for the opportunity. I want to take a moment to express our deepest gratitude to all our stakeholders for their continued trust in NMRC. I want to particularly thank the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Federal Ministry of Finance, the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, the Mortgage Banking Association of Nigeria, Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority, the press, and others who have been there from the conception of this idea of NMRC to its birth 10 years ago. Over the past decade, our mortgage refinance company has grown from a vision into a leading provider of financial solutions, empowering families and communities to achieve their dreams of home ownership. The 10th anniversary milestone wouldn't have been possible without the unwavering commitment of our dedicated team, the loyalty of our customers, the guidance of our regulators, the support of government, and the strong partnership that we have built with each of you, our investors, our lenders, our partners, and our clients. Together, we have navigated a dynamic industry, adapting to challenges and seizing opportunities to help more people realize their homeownership goals. Our shared commitment to excellence and customer-centric values has allowed us to create lasting relationships, and it is your support that has been the cornerstone of our impact. We thank you for all the support that we have received from every corner of the country and from every segment of the society. It's been tremendous, and we are deeply appreciative. As we look ahead to the next decade, we remain dedicated to innovating and delivering trusted, reliable housing solutions. We're excited to continue partnering with you to build on our achievements and expand our reach, helping even more individuals and families to find a place to call home. We thank you, all the stakeholders, those I didn't mention, but have been working even on the background to help NMRC achieve its goal. And we thank you for being there even on this journey. And to the next 10 years, we count on your support for our growth, for the opportunities, success that we'll achieve together. I wish everyone a wonderful time on this program. I'm sure good and bright ideas will come that will also help us take the company forward, but more importantly, help many Nigerians get into their own homes and become homeowners. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and thank you for all your support. Thank you, Fazadab, and the entire team at Fazadab. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Kende Ogundemu, for that goodwill message. Now, for us to fully understand the impact of NMRC, it's essential to look back at its beginning. Why was NMRC established? And what gap was it meant to fill in Nigeria's housing finance sector? Now, my very first question will be going to Mr. Abimbola Olayinka. Mr. Abimbola Olayinka, you were at the forefront when NMRC was conceived. Can you share with us the key challenges in Nigeria's mortgage sector that led to the establishment of NMRC? Mr. Abimbola, are you with us? Okay, while we wait for him to join us, let me throw the question to Mr. Femi Johnson. Mr. Femi Johnson.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Share with us, yes, good morning, Mr. Femi. Share with us the key challenges in Nigeria's mortgage sector that led to the establishment of NMRC.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and I welcome you all again to this forum. If we remember correctly, for some of us that were here in the late 90s and early 2000s, apart from the long-term loan that you could get from Federal Mortgage Bank, which at that time I think was 1.5 million naira, what we called mortgage in Nigeria were typically 2 years to 5-year loans at interest rates of about 35%. That's what we called mortgages in Nigeria in the early 2000s. So mortgage banks were handicapped in the sense that you couldn't get long-term funding and you couldn't get low interest rate money. And that led mortgage bankers to brainstorm together on how to raise long-term money at low interest rates to fund housing and finance the teeming population to own houses. At that time, a study had been done in Nigeria. We had a deficit back then of 16 million units, and there was no way, no conceivable way for people to own homes, except if they somehow could buy the entire house upfront. So mortgages, as they were, apart from FMBN mortgages at that time, was non-existent in Nigeria. Having come together, we realized that at that time, mortgage banks were small and fragmented, and if they went to the market to raise funding for themselves, it would be difficult for people to trust them and invest in their bonds. So they decided to come together and try and find an institution that could go to the market, that would have the regulators backing, that would have the federal government's backing, that would have some foreign multilateral organizations backing as well, and input, and will be able to engender confidence in the market for people to invest in. And that was how NMRC was put together in a nutshell. And since then, now you find 20-year mortgages in the market, courtesy of NMRC. NMRC gives 15-year money at low interest rates. At some point, NMRC was funding, when the market was favorable, at 7-8%, for on lending at about 12% in this market. And that's what has sort of created the sort of mass mortgage that we've seen in the market today. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much, Mr. Femi Johnson. Now, my next question will be going to Mr. Kayode Omotosho. As a former executive secretary of the Mortgage Banking Association of Nigeria, what role did the association play in the formation and early development of NMRC? Mr. Kayode Omotosho, are you with us? Okay, while we wait for Mr. Kayode Omotosho to join us, let me go to Mr. Adesemoye. You were in CBN then when all this happened, when NMRC was formed and all of that. So let's hear your own point of view. What led to the establishment of NMRC?
Yeah, good morning, Madam Flora, and good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and our colleagues that are joining. We want to first of all congratulate NMRC for attaining to this particular age of 10-year anniversary. We want to congratulate NMRC and the management, the team, both the funding MD as well as the current management. It's an institution that we both participated in the dreaming, like Mr. Johnson said, who gave a brief story of how the institution was conceived. Yes, at the time when we were discussing prior to 2013, the market in Nigeria has been particularly financial market where you have short-term deposit and housing asset that is to be created is a long-term asset. So there's apparent big mismatch because majority of the fund in the market then were 90 days, 180 days. Hardly to see even a year. For you then to be able to create a mortgage that will go to 25 years, it was nearly impossible. Only from NHF fund, that is being managed by the Federal Mortgage Bank, where you can have a long-term, low-interest fund. So the creation of NMRC was to create a liquidity company, a monoline liquidity company that will connect the savings and the market to the capital market where we can have long-term funding and apparently lower interest rate may not be as low, as that of the Federal Mortgage Bank, but at least an attempt to get into the market. Prior to that, we were not having a market-driven mortgage system. As you know, when you are looking at housing market in itself, you have a developmental side that you need a lot of support. You have the economic side if you want to use housing to develop an economy, and then we have a market approach in which the market, the economy has developed to the level in which the market can take over, a market can allocate resources properly. So NMRC was our very first major attempt to help the market to start allocating resources, as it were. So even though it was seriously assisted by the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Federal Ministry of Finance, particularly MOFI, as well as Sovereign Wealth Investment Authority. So it was an attempt with the World Bank loan that we received at that particular period. So Central Bank took substantial part of the money, particularly debt capital, to be able to strengthen the balance sheet of NMRC so that NMRC can go to the market to raise bonds. So Central Bank took this particular loan in its balance sheet, and we were disbursing this particular loan in Naira. We converted the dollar to Naira and gave to NMRC as a long-term debt so that NMRC balance sheet is strengthened because you need strong financial to be able to go to the capital market. So not only that, the federal government also provided NMRC a sovereign support so that it could raise money at the rate at which the federal government will be raising. So it was a well-designed project for institutions like NMRC to be able to go to the capital market, raise money, and use this money to refinance loans that will meet the eligibility criteria. NMRC had gone ahead to do more in terms of, we collaborated together. We have designed uniform underwriting standard, as it were. That was not in existence before the NMRC came in, because you need a uniform underwriting standard that could address the mortgage in such a way that the originators will originate mortgage in line with the standard for NMRC to be able to refinance. All these have been achieved. However, these were done under the economic condition that is very unstable. As you know, Nigeria is an emerging market. In an emerging market, you have quite a number of risks in terms of macroeconomic instability. NMRC have had its own challenge along this line, because even at its back, within a very short time, we had change of government, not the government that midwife, the Jonathan government change. We had the Buhari government, and quite a number of economic changes took place. And the economy ran into recession twice within a very short time. And the cost of fund and the market change. So all these impacted on NMRC operation. So it was good that the institution have been able to carry through, even up to now, to still raise money, refinance eligible mortgages till now. So NMRC have been able to meet up that aspect, but the issue of macroeconomic stability has remained with us, with inflation hovering over 30, with monetary policy rate at the rate at which it is today. Double-digit high end is a big challenge for you to be able to raise money that will be able for NMRC to use in being able to have good financing for 20 years, 15 years is a lot of challenges. So we want to congratulate NMRC first for what has been achieved. We also understand late last year they were able to raise some international funding. Some of these, probably the MD will give us a deeper detail into this. But so far, the institution has remained afloat, doing the job. More is expected, no doubt about that, particularly on the developmental side of the market. But I will say the institution was well thought out, and the challenges we have as emerging market is also real, very real. Thank you very much. Let me pause a while here.
I'm here.
All right, thank you so very much, Mr. Adedeji
Flora, I'm here now.
for enlightening us the role CBN played in the establishment of NMRC. Mr. Omotosho, I can see you. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Anne. How are you? I'm very sorry, Flora.
Very fine, thank you.
The network just failed me at the point I wanted to start speaking. So thank you for the invitation, and having listened to our other colleagues. So you are asking me what roles the association played. So like Dr. Johnson mentioned, we were faced with death of long-term funds and fund mismatch. So we were using short-term funds for long-term loans. So it became apparent to us in the association that for us to have a future, we must have to sort out the issue of long-term funding. So we were in USA in 2007 on Wall Street to see what could be done. But unfortunately, the American system could not fit into the Nigerian need at that time. As a result, the mortgage banks on their own, we decided to visit the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation for a program in 2009. It was there that we realized that the issue of long-term funding must have to be spread out. So on our coming back, we set up what we call a committee on urban liquidity facility for the mortgage banking subsector. So we held meetings for about almost 2 years. So after the meeting, we then started the process of how to launch the liquidity facility, as Mr. Adechimoye mentioned. Unfortunately, at a point, after we had got to a very appreciable point, we were made to understand by World Bank that we needed federal government intervention for us to succeed in our mission. That was how, as an association, we had to approach the CBN. Luckily for us, the ministers then and the CBN governor, they were very friendly. So we then had to change the company from urban liquidity facility to NMRC as it is today. So for us as an association, and to put it in record, Mban as an association at mortgage banks, we invested over 100 million of our funds into that enterprise. However, when we got back to the CBN and the federal government had to put its balance sheet behind us, and that is how we are able to have the NMRC today. And in terms of success, at least in long-term funding through the capital market on a sustainable basis, we are succeeded in that one. And for us, the mortgage banks and mortgage banking association, we are glad that NMRC is off the ground, is doing its best. Subject to macroeconomic fundamentals like Mr. Adeshimoye mentioned that Dr. Johnson, we believe that NMRC will do more into the future. And we also believe that with other companies that will be set up to support NMRC, we should be able to have very, very robust home ownership financing in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kayode Omotosho, for that. Now we can see that clearly NMRC was born out of a need to revolutionize Nigeria's mortgage sector. But how well has it performed against its original purpose? We'll explore this after the break.
Do you know of housing estates sitting empty, abandoned, or at 80% completion stage for a while across Nigeria? Have you noticed unoccupied homes in your area? The Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, is compiling a nationwide report on the number of unoccupied houses, and we need your help. Share details with us via WhatsApp on 0916 500 0000 or email at hdan.org@gmail.com. HDAN is the Nigeria Pioneer NGO on housing development and non-profit research organization with 5,000 plus housing and construction professionals committed to tackling Nigeria's housing crisis. Your input can help shape better policies and solutions. Join us in making housing accessible and well utilized. Send your information today.
This is Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts. On Facebook, Housing TV Africa. On Twitter, Housing TV Africa. Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.
All right, welcome back to the real conversation. NMRC was established to provide liquidity, stability, and affordability in Nigeria's mortgage market. A decade later, has it achieved these goals? Well, to all our participants today, if you have any question, you have any contribution, please do well to send them down to us and we'll take it immediately. We see them. Now let's look at this. My question will be going to Keisha Ross. Madam Keisha Ross, are you with us today?
I am right here. Very
right.
Nice to be here with you.
Same here, madam. Now, from a continental perspective, how would you assess NMRC's impact on affordable housing finance in Nigeria compared to similar entities in Africa?
Sure. I mean, there's such a, well, let me first start by just saying congratulations to Kehinde and his team on 10 years of really making a strong place for affordable housing finance, not only in Nigeria, but also in Africa. And as many of you know, that Kehinde has been playing a leadership role as well within the African Union for Housing Finance, where he's our chairman. And I think that gives a clue, in fact, to the answer, is that NMRC has been championing the role and significance of affordable housing finance and the viability of investment into affordable housing processes within Nigeria, but also more broadly across the continent, and of course also globally through other networks. And in that, by slowly, deliberately building the investment argument, then bringing in investors to participate in the work, and then highlighting where the blockages are that limit or undermine the extension of mortgages by primary mortgage lenders and so on. NMRC is really a champion, not just on the lending side, but also on the policy side. And then that starts to create a conversation within Nigeria, but also across the region and globally, about finding ways to sustainably invest in affordable housing. One of the areas where CAF, the Center for Affordable Housing Finance, has worked with NMRC, which has been very exciting for us, is around the area of data. And I think that what all of the previous speakers have been saying underneath what they've been speaking is the need for trust in this sector, right? The availability of long-term capital, the pricing of that capital, the way in which things get invested, all based on trust. And that trust arises from having information flowing freely between the parties. And as people involved in affordable housing across this continent, we're sometimes not that good at that, at sharing information and data. And then we wonder why we don't understand fully what other players are doing. And NMRC has worked very hard to step past, I think, a narrow definition of its role to say, as a champion of affordable housing investment in Nigeria, we want to improve the data landscape so that all the investors can place their capital in ways where they can feel secure. And that builds trust. That's the significant thing about the role. So we've done a couple things with NMRC that have been very exciting. a whole review of the housing data information landscape. But then also the development of a dashboard, which has looked at issues of demand and supply, drawing on data that came from the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. So that was a very good partnership that was forged. Then NMRC engaged with the central bank. And we've looked at opportunities in terms of working also with the central bank and the data that they have. They've been a very important partner in that. Taking a look at the way in which NMRC, the role that it plays within the broader MRCs, the mortgage refinance companies across the continent, I think that they are together quite a good team for identifying the needs and opportunities in the development of mortgage markets in different markets. So Nigeria's mortgage market is so different from Kenya's mortgage market and Tanzania's. They have different issues. And I think they work very productively with one another, comparing notes and testing where there are opportunities for further investment, and learning from one another, given the different contexts in which they operate. So I think that NMRC has definitely shown itself as a leader in the industry. And of course, that's been over the whole 10 years. But we've certainly at the AUHF been delighted to work with Kehinde and his team under his leadership to really promote the importance of improving the liquidity available to mortgage lenders. Yeah, I think I'll stop there, but congratulations. And thank you very much for offering me the opportunity to share some with you.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Madam Kesia Ross, for your assessment of the NMRC. All right, my next question will be going to Mr. Adedeji Adesemoye. You were instrumental in Nigeria's housing finance program at the central bank. How effectively has NMRC addressed the liquidity challenges in Nigeria's mortgage market? Mr. Adesemoye. Mr. Adesemoye, are you still with us?
Yes, of course, I am.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Flora. Thank you again for other colleagues. In terms of liquidity provision, this is also conditioned on a number of macroeconomic issues, because the provision of liquidity is not just for NMRC to keep in its own savings account, is to on-lend to the people, to on-lend to the institutions that meet the underwriting criteria for it to be able to. Because the rate, the current monetary policy rate is very, very discouraging as a sort of inflation. So if NMRC go to the market to go and raise money today, the rate at which it could blend to give out will still be very high at double digit. So also to be able to look, to get to that level, it will need to appraise the market, the demand, and what kind of mortgages can you refinance at that particular level that will make business. It will definitely be an upper end mortgages. So part of our purpose of sending up NMRC was to bring mortgage closer to affordable market, not just at the medium and upper reach. As for that, NMRC may not probably have problem in raising money to finance, but to go down market where you will be able to raise loan, it's a challenge to raise money today at single digit. Very, very challenging. This is one of the constraints of instability, macroeconomic instability that we have found ourselves. So on the area of NMRC performing, yes, it's meeting the mortgages that it has earlier refinanced. It's meeting the terms of payment and engagement. It has also developed a robust relationship with institutional investors insurance companies and all others that may be. But on the area of being able to bring rate down, it depends on where the free market rate is. And that is challenging to everyone. So today in the market, even though we have mortgages that can go up to 20 years and above, we have not been able, NMRC have not been able to go to the market as frequent, even with the sovereign support, because it has to be a viable business. It has to be a viable business to be able to do that. So indeed, on that particular area, the frequency of being able to go to the market, to be able to raise money for those who need mortgages down at affordable level down the market, NMRC is having a constraint in this particular area. The underwriting standard is very okay, and like other speakers have said, is playing a good role. There are institutions that were supposed to be complementary that we have not been able to set up or roll out effectively. The Nigeria Mortgage Guarantee Company. The Mortgage Guarantee Company had not been set up or operationalized. We succeeded in being able to incorporate, but we have not been able to capitalize and roll this out. Without that, you cannot have a shared risk in such a way that the risk is well distributed in such a way that NMRC will be able to price better the mortgages so that it could be at a better rate. So we have not been able to do this. The area of information system is going on, like Madam Keisha has already said. NMRC is providing a lot of, so you need a lot of data to be able to analyze the market effectively so that the market is driven by data. So NMRC is still going on in this particular area. But there are more other developmental programs that NMRC will need to undertake in order to make the market more robust. And then the issue also, we need to campaign more for the mortgage guarantee company to come into place, for it to be capitalized, so that we effectively be able to share the risk and NMRC can do better than the same that is doing today. Hopefully, it will transit from being looking up to the federal government in terms of sovereign support. Once data, effective data, long-term data, data that's of high quality can be seen, can be utilized by investors, then NMRC will be on its path to exponential growth. That is where I would like to pause even for that question. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dedeji. All right, let me take my next question to you, Mr. Femi Johnson. For NMRC, what key achievements stand out in the past decade, and what gaps still needs to be addressed? Mr. Femi Johnson.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I think Mr. Adeshamoye just hit the nail on the head. NMRC, like I said, has helped in granting the market long-term and lower interest funding. The gaps that remain would be further lower interest funding, but the long-term issue has been addressed. And like Mr. Adeshamoye mentioned when he spoke earlier, late last year, NMRC secured some foreign funding that will be deployed by next month or by the second quarter of this year. When that deployment happens, the idea is to create single-digit funding in the market through those funds. It's a huge amount that has come in. I'll let the CEO of NMRC speak about that. But that would effectively address the remaining gaps that we see in the market, because it will bring in funding at single-digit interest rates. Like I said, we've already solved the issue of long-term funding, but due to the structure of the economy at the moment, where inflation is, where the MPR is, it's difficult in the bond market to raise money. Effectively, if you see treasury bills in the last maybe 6 months or 1 year, you find that the discount rate has been high, giving an effective yield, sometimes touching 30%. So if the federal government is taking money from the market through treasuries at 30%, then how do you expect a private company or a public-private partnership company to raise money below what the CBN or federal government is mopping up money at? So that has been the major constraint, the high interest rates, and that has limited the penetration of NMRC into the market as we would have expected it to be. Having said that, there has been a lot of transformation in the market just by NMRC being there, the funds they've created over the years and all of that. And then the confidence, we never link the availability of funding from NMRC to developers' ability to raise funding for development. NMRC does not fund construction directly, but the fact that there's that leeway, developers know that once they build, people have access to long-term funding with lower interest from NMRC to sell their properties. That gives them the confidence. And on the back of that, banks that lend for construction, both mortgage and commercial banking, are able to lend because they see these offtake guarantees, which ultimately dovetail to NMRC's ability to fund. Like I said, now the lower interest portion of it has been resolved. NMRC has secured the funding for that. It's a huge amount, and that will come into the market, like I said, maybe later second quarter of this year, and that would help stimulate the market more and solve a lot of the housing crisis and deficit that we see in the market today. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Femi Johnson. Well, it is insightful to see the strides NMRC has made and the perspective from within and outside Nigeria, but no journey is without challenges. We'll dive into hurdles faced and the way forward after this break.
Do you know of housing estates sitting empty, abandoned, or at 80% completion stage for a while across Nigeria? Have you noticed unoccupied homes in your area? The Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, is compiling a nationwide report on the number of unoccupied houses, and we need your help. Share details with us via WhatsApp on 0916 500 0000 or email at hdan.org@gmail.com. HDAN is the Nigeria Pioneer NGO on housing development and non-profit research organization with 5,000 plus housing and construction professionals committed to tackling Nigeria's housing crisis. Your input can help shape better policies and solutions. Join us in making housing accessible and well utilized. Send your information today.
Welcome back. We're still talking about the 10 years anniversary of NMRC. The Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company has come a long way, but what challenges have hindered its growth, and how can they be overcome to ensure a more robust mortgage sector? Mr. Kayode Omotosho, let me ask you this next question. How can the mortgage banking sector better collaborate with NMRC to enhance mortgage accessibility and affordability? Mr. Kayode Omotosho?
I hope you're hearing me, Flora.
Yes, I can hear you loud.
Okay, so first and foremost, Flora, just a minor correction. Our Femi Johnson, he's a doctor. He's not a mister like me. And we had him as a doctor over 15 years ago. He's one of the eggheads in our subsector. So please, just remember to call him a doctor rather than mister like me.
Oh,
so
okay, sir. I will do that.
Okay, so the question, my other colleagues had mentioned, but let me also reiterate. We need to assist NMRC to further improve and enhance its ability in the subsector. So NMGC is very, very critical, like Ade mentioned. Is a credit enhancer, and we've been working on it. If NMGC comes up quickly, it will complement NMRC in terms of affordability. We need to drill down mortgages to the lower end of the market, not only in terms of interest rate, as Femi mentioned, but also in terms of affordability. So once we have an NMGC that will address equity contribution and affordability into the long term, NMRC will have a better plane where people can now see its achievement in a better modicum. That is one. Two, if you also notice of recent, MOFI is coming up with a MREIF. It's an initiative that the mortgage banking sector stakeholders, we appreciate it, and we want it to come on stream very early, because it is also going to address fundamentally the supply side concurrent with the demand side. And once we have the two sides addressed fully, then Nigerians will have the opportunity to have better houses at lower prices and mortgage at lower interest rates. And in that wise, Nigerians will be able to have a feel of what NMRC and the mortgage banking subsector had been doing for a very long time. Single-digit interest rate, like Femi mentioned, once that comes up through NMRC, we are good to go. So in terms of what we need to do next to fill the gaps, those are the EU's, part of the EU's. I will believe that collectively, both public and private sector stakeholders, we should be able to achieve all those in the immediate term and short term. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Kayode Omotosho. All right, let me go over to Madam Kesia Ross. Madam Kesia.
Hello. Yeah.
All right, so let's look at your final word to the NMRC. The future, what does the future hold for NMRC in the next decade? What's your final word to the NMRC?
So, we have across this continent nascent mortgage markets. They're tiny. They're so small. And yet the opportunity for their growth is significant. There are a few issues that are different about our mortgage markets than in other parts of the world. So something that NMRC worked on a few years ago, and I think we really continue to need leadership in this, is the existence and the management of the reality of informal earners. People who earn their incomes informally or in different shapes. Maybe they earn them quarterly or seasonally or so on. The fact that people amass their capital through a family, and that you have multiple participants in the economics of a household. And how does that contribute? Because of course, the affordability challenge, there's only so far you can go. And so from NMRC's perspective, to find ways to better leverage the capacity that exists in low-income households to actively participate in the housing sector, I think is an important challenge going forward. And if NMRC does it, then maybe the other lenders will start to follow suit and recognize that there's a whole market that they haven't yet been responding to and engaging with. I think there are other issues around loan pricing and interest rates, and that's lobbying back to central banks and about the legislative framework that constrains mortgage finance in an environment where it's targeting much lower income people. And in many cases, these are micro mortgages we're talking about, because that would be the standard of affordable housing on this continent. So I think that as our mortgage markets develop, and specifically as Nigeria's mortgage market develops, more and more lenders will engage with NMRC for capital. And that puts NMRC in an excellent position to really describe the market well and to showcase that back to investors and to players and policy makers in Nigeria and across the continent. And through that, encourage more investment, better priced capital, and ultimately greater access to housing finance. There was a comment about end user demand side focus versus supply side focus. And I think there is scope to look in the development of our housing finance markets on the kind of supply side finance that might be needed by smaller scale players that are unable to access traditional construction finance. And really just sorting out the flow of all of the funding and finance as it relates to housing development and acquisition in the long term is an important role for NMRC to play. So very happy that NMRC exists and that we can continue to engage with you and that you are currently leading the African Union for Housing Finance as well and really making your mark there. So thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you so very much, Madam Kesia Ross. Okay, I have a message here from Oswald Orasa. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. He said, congratulations, NMRC, on your 10th anniversary. Also from Joy Film, 10th anniversary. Congratulations, NMRC. All right, thank you all. Thank you so very much, my distinguished speakers, for all your contribution. I'll be going over to Mr. Kehinde Ogundemu, the Managing Director of NMRC, before we wrap up this conversation. We need an update on the $200 million loan NMRC secured from the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. Mr. Ogundemu, we need an update on that.
Thank you very much, Madam, and thank you to all the panelists and those who have spoken. We appreciate and are encouraged by the comments that we have had. We're at the final stages of the U.S. Development Finance Corporation loan. In fact, last week they were supposed to send us the guarantee agreement that has been reviewed by their legal and our legal, and then we're expecting the final financing document from them. So it's we're closer to the end than we were maybe a few months ago. But as you know, there's also been some changes in the U.S. just with the new administration, so things are a little slow at the DFC on their end just because of the changes of leadership and all of that. But I'll say we are very close to getting the final documents that we need to execute, and then the disbursements will happen. But on our end, this is going to be blended finance, where we are going to be blending whatever we raise on the local market with what we get from the DFC. We are progressing with the local market. In fact, by the end of this week, we'll be filing our papers with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So we are going on the local bond issuance head on, just to make sure that we are ahead of the curve there while waiting just to wrap up the things from DFC. So I'll say we're almost there. We're just waiting for a few financing documents to be finalized by our International Council and DFC's International Council. And then just a few more things. Hopefully we'll get that wrapped up either before the end of this quarter or very early next quarter. But we're making progress. It's looking good.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kehinde Ogundemu. This has been an enlightening conversation on the transformative journey of the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company, a decade of innovation, impact, and resilience. As we look forward, it's clear that NMRC's role is pivotal in shaping Nigeria's mortgage sector. All right, to my distinguished panelists, my speakers, I need a final word from each of you to the NMRC. Let me start with Dr. Femi Johnson. A final word from you.
Thank you very much. I think it's just to say congratulations to NMRC. They've done very well. If you also know, one of the things we don't talk about enough is that all of the loans that have been granted by NMRC over the past decade are all performing. They have zero bad loans in their books. So that speaks to the quality of their origination, the processes they follow, their due diligence and all of that. And it just shows that it's possible in this market to get things done. So a lot, they said to whom much is given, much more is expected. And to the child that has done very well, you can only ask them to do better. So we wish NMRC another 10 years of them exceeding all our expectations. We expect them to do far better than they've done, to transform and revolutionize the market for us, to bring in finally long-term, single-digit commercial loans into the market, such that we can once and for all solve the problem of affordability. And we've been talking, again, a lot of people have mentioned NMGC, Nigeria Mortgage Guarantee Company. NMRC is also at the forefront of that. In fact, they hold a 25% stake in that. So again, just to admonish them to push harder so that we get NMGC to cross that finish line so that the market can properly be de-risked for the mortgages to grow and for housing to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Femi Johnson. Mr. Adedeji Adesemoye, a final word from you to the NMRC.
Madam Flora, I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Yes, loud and clear. Loud and clear, sir. We can hear you. The network is off.
You're muted, sir. You're muted, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Oh.
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead, sir. We can hear you now.
Okay. So I want to join my other colleague, the panelists, to congratulate NMRC for the first 1 decade, and also to expect more to be done. On the area of, Dr. Josie has already talked about the area of NMGC, the fact that NMRC is putting 25% to assist just because it does not want to put more or create an impression that we distort the governance structure that have been put in place. So NMRC need to go to the market to really canvas, to get more international institutions, get more institutions, corporate institutions to join that particular vision. We have this mortgage asset registry system in place that we're discussing. That is also an infrastructure that could take the market further so that we can have an exponential growth. NMRC is already structured to be able to bring this one out. So NMRC need to invest more. There should be more enlightenment on the uniform underwriting standard. Like Keisha said about the informal sector. Informal sector penetration is very critical in Nigeria because, yes, whatever risk that may be, we need to test the uniform underwriting standard for the informal sector very well, and to be able, because the informal sector is a larger part of the sector in Nigeria. We need to bring this on board as quickly as possible because now Nigeria is having a better credit infrastructure in place. So we need to put this on the issue of titling. In other African countries, we have seen issue of tier title. Some of these other developmental initiatives need to be brought into Nigeria so that we can pursue this all together. Also on the issue of the mortgage model law, the mortgage model law that NMRC have been pursuing. We must not leave this behind. We must engage the National Assembly to do the needful so that the mortgage model law is passed, and then the mortgagee can have more confidence, and it can also help to de-risk the economy and de-risk the market so that more mortgages that will meet underwriting standard that have been put together will be originated, and NMRC refinancing capacity or financing opportunity can grow. All these are things we are looking for NMRC more to do, and we'll be looking for the next 3-4 years. We have been patient. 10 years is a long time, but in the next few years, we expect NMRC to move more, to move very, very fast as soon as they're bringing in this developmental fund into the market. We want them to be able to key into this and fire these initiatives so that the market can be well transformed and Nigerian market can be a model for others to copy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. All right, before I bring up Mr. Omotosho Kayode to speak, I want to acknowledge Mr. Akim Ogunero. I can see he's here with us. Mr. Akim Ogunero, thank you for joining us. We need a word from you to the NMRC. Any congratulatory message to them on their 10th year anniversary?
I already put good morning. I already put my congratulatory message to Kenny and the team on the
majority leader.
Yes, majority leader. Congratulations, Kenny. The real issue is that NMRC has done so well, given the challenges, given the structural challenges that we have in this economy. My view always has been that NMRC is at one end. They can only refinance mortgages after assets have been created, after mortgage structural issues that currently impede asset creation, that impede mortgage creation, so that NMRC can have done very well and they can only do better going forward. So congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Akim Ogunero, for that. All right, finally, Mr.
Thank you.
Omotosho Kayode, your final words, sir.
So thank you, Flora. I want to join in congratulating both NMRC and the stakeholders for the successes that have been achieved. It's a true reflection of the fact that private-public sector collaboration could be successful in Nigeria if well managed. At the point of starting, we were thinking of pure private sector. But of course, public sector had to come into it, and we could see the successes that I have achieved so far. So moving forward, and this, like Ade said, yes, 10 years, 5 years, I feel and believe that NMRC should intensify its championship role such that NMGC should take off at best or at worst the third quarter of this year. It's going to be a very robust environment for NMRC to continue to succeed once NMGC also takes off. And to everybody, to Nigerians, let's congratulate ourselves that for a change, we are setting up institutions that could succeed and last, and we all could be proud of. So Kenny and his team, more for you to do, such that in years to come, we'll be talking of more successful outcomes from your end, from the end of all the stakeholders. So thank you to Nigerians and congratulations to everybody. Thank you, Flora.
Thank you, Mr. Omotosho. And a very special thank you to our esteemed guests, our panelists, for their insights. And to you, our distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on The Real Conversation today. With this, we come to the end of today's conversation. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you all, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Festus.
Do you know of housing estates sitting empty, abandoned, or at 80% completion stage for a while across Nigeria? Have you noticed unoccupied homes in your area? The Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, is compiling a nationwide report on the number of unoccupied houses and we
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Share details with
thank
us
you for having put
via
everything together.
WhatsApp.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Thank you, everyone.
God bless you, Kenny.
500-0000
Thank you, sir.
or email at hdan.org@gmail.com. HDAN is the Nigeria Pioneer NGO on housing development and non-profit research organization with 5,000 plus housing and construction professionals committed to tackling Nigeria's housing crisis. Your input can help shape better policies and solutions. Join us in making housing accessible and well utilized. Send your information today.
This is Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts. On Facebook, Housing TV Africa. On Twitter, Housing TV Africa. Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.
Do you know of housing estates sitting empty, abandoned, or at 80% completion stage for a while across Nigeria? Have you noticed unoccupied homes in your area? The Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, is compiling a nationwide report on the number of unoccupied houses, and we need your help. Share details with us via WhatsApp on 0916 500 0000 or email at hdan.org@gmail.com. HDAN is the Nigeria Pioneer NGO on housing development and non-profit research organization with 5,000 plus housing and construction professionals committed to tackling Nigeria's housing crisis. Your input can help shape better policies and solutions. Join us in making housing accessible and well utilized. Send your information today.
This is Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts. On Facebook, Housing TV Africa. On Twitter, Housing TV Africa. Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.